If this message has found you, you want to be seen. You are calling in more visibility, stepping into your power, stepping into purpose, stepping into being seen in your magic and in your gifts. But at the very same time, the only thing that matches how passionately you want to be seen is how terrified you are of being seen. So you have this dual dance that you are doing between, oh my word, that looks so juicy and exciting, and I would love to be more seen, and I would love to serve people through that visibility. And this could look like online visibility, starting a YouTube channel or growing your YouTube channel, taking it to the next level. Or it could look like posting on TikTok, starting a blog, a Substack, having a newsletter. So it could look like online visibility, but it could also look like offline visibility, speaking on a stage, hosting an event, taking up a leadership role in your community, being seen in your community, in space, in time, out there in the wild, okay? So I have realized, I used to think the fear of being seen was this very narrow topic, but I'm realizing almost in its specificity is its universality. The feeling that in a meeting or in a conversation, you have this thing you want to say and you feel the power of it, but it almost makes your heart beat so much that you're like, oh my word, this is actually such a good idea. It's funny. The fear of success and the fear of being seen are so intimately woven, because it's like, oh my word, I almost can't face my own potency, my own power. And speaking this voice into the room, I'm equally terrified that people will think that I said something very wrong or unimportant. Or they'll think, oh my gosh, that was like excellent. And then I'll be held to the standard and then I'll have to keep that up. And so the fear of success is really merged in with the fear of being seen. For example, when it comes to the online space, what if I am seen? And what if it goes well? And then what if I have all these responsibilities? And what if people ask things of me that I am not in the position to give? And what if I lose my freedom, right? Like we have these deep fears, and I feel you. It feels like the bigger it goes, there's more to lose and there's more that's going to be demanded of us. I understand and I feel you. So the fear of being seen affects us in our lives, the difficult conversations we're scared to have. And then when we do have the difficult conversation, sometimes we won't even get to the deeper layer of what the conflict is actually about. We'll tell them maybe some of the surface things, but are we willing to be seen in like the underlying pain, the underlying trauma or experience that we're terrified or feel really ashamed of voicing? So the fear of being seen affects each of us in our day-to-day lives, whether it's in relationships, friendships, or in our creativity. As creators, as artists, we both long to be seen for our art, and also because this is such a vulnerable part of us, it feels terrifying that we may be rejected, cancelled, criticized, or misunderstood. Something that I believe in, if you're new here, is that the collective is dreaming through each of our dreams. And so none of our dreams, when it comes to the podcast you want to start, or the book you want to write, the event you want to host, the movement you want to join or lead, like none of that is just you sitting on an island dreaming. In my heart, I feel that it is a collective consciousness, and it is this new earth trying to awaken through our dreams. Our dreams are a portal to an unseen dimension of reality, to our subconscious, to the infinite, to intuition. And so equally, since the universe exists on these different scales, did you know that the shape of your neural pathways maps onto the shape of galaxies in the universe? Like we're magical beings. We are magical beings. And so since the universe exists on all these scales, what if, just as our dreams are a portal to the unseen world, you, my love, your creations, your consciousness is a portal to a new kind of world? That every creation actually represents a portal into the consciousness and also into the kind of values and way of seeing the world that that artist has. And I'm going to give you an example. If you read a poem and you feel transformed by the poem, in a sense, you've stepped through the portal of that artist's creation, and you feel really invited, you feel really warm and welcome in that portal. As you've stepped through it, it leads to a place that looks more beautiful to you, that looks more wonderful, more wholesome, and you are forever changed by having been invited to walk through that portal. So on that point, something that can really support you as you face the fear of being seen is this idea of an invitation. Now, all of us have faced the feeling of not being invited, right? You know, you're not invited to the party, the wedding, the event. You're not invited to that thing you swore you were going to be invited to, and it feels like you're excluded. You're on the outside looking in. Why does no one value you enough to invite you? You would have so invited them. How dare they not invite you? It's very painful, especially if some of your friends are going and then they're talking about this event or this wedding and you're like, fuck, like I wasn't invited. It's so unjust. We felt the absolute exclusion and isolation of being on the outside looking in. And my love, when it comes to your creations and the ideas that you have but you don't work on, or you work on but then don't share, I invite you to consider that these are unoffered invitations to the collective consciousness. These are things that people actually want to be invited to, but you are depriving them of even the chance to say yes or no. Because we are so certain people will reject the invitation, because on the other hand, there's the person who invites people to the event and no one shows up. That feels really humiliating. It feels very heartbreaking. That feels like a sense of deep isolation on the other side, that you were vulnerable in inviting people and then no one came. Very painful. That it makes you almost want to retreat even further inwards. Okay, fine, then I'll never invite anyone to anything again, because then I'll be able to protect myself from this sense of this wound, okay, of isolation, of rejection is the deep fear. So I know that when you are protecting yourself from making these invitations, by that I mean posting the essay on Substack, speaking up in the meeting, sharing an idea. What if we did this? Having the difficult conversation, sharing your art with the world, in person or online, sharing it on Instagram, on TikTok, wherever you feel called, inviting people to come to your spoken poetry event, whatever it may be. There are all these unoffered invitations that are littered across the collective, of these moments that don't get to happen because of the fear that is blocking us from making the invitation. At a grander scale, the biggest thing repressing these invitations is, of course, supremacy, coloniality, capitalism. Like systemic factors are the biggest block to creativity, and that creativity fully being expressed or lived. So absolutely want to acknowledge that first and foremost. When it comes to when we are in a position to share our voice with the world in some way, shape, or form, such as we want to start a TikTok, but then we're afraid to, or we want to start a podcast or a YouTube, but we're afraid to, that is an unoffered invitation to the collective consciousness. Who knows what that would have unlocked in someone's heart, in someone's consciousness, had they been invited. So when you are an artist, you have a painting and you want to post it on Instagram, and you're like, I'm just scared that no one gets it. I understand that. I hold that with so much love. And at the same time, we want to be invited to your art. We want to be invited to your perspective. We want to be invited to your ideas, to your way of seeing the world. And each time that you do not make that invitation, our lives are less full for that lack of invitation. You know why? Because we're all better for having the invitation and being able to say no than not having the invitation at all. What does it mean? It's better to be invited to the party and be able to say no than for someone to decide you weren't going to come anyway, so they may as well not invite you. You know what I'm saying? Wait, what if I was going to move around my plans? What if I just wanted to feel like you wanted me there, and therefore it would have felt nice to be able to say no, even though I can't make it? So it's more honoring or dignifying of a being to give them the option and let them, from their fullness of self, say no. Let them say no. How beautiful to be that generous. You know, the sun, we could decide, I could go outside today and experience the sunshine, but I'm not going to. And I'm more whole, I'm more alive for that choice. Like, isn't it so enlivening that I could be in the sunshine, but I'm choosing not to? That the sun invited me, in a sense, into that experience of sun in my skin, and I'm saying no. Isn't that better than a sun that never invited me at all? Because it decided on my behalf that I wouldn't like the sunshine. So when we're invited to things, when someone sends you an essay because they think you may like it, isn't that more enlivening than had they decided for you you weren't going to read it and therefore didn't send it to you at all? And there are many reasons why someone might do that, I understand. But when someone invites you to watch their favorite movie, even though they know you may not watch it, because we all have lists and lists, either consciously or in our notes app, of things that we want to be watching, and there's so much to watch. And so they may think, they're never going to watch this because of all the things they could watch. Why would they watch this? But aren't we so much more nourished by having been invited to watch their favorite movie than had they decided for us that we were never going to watch it at all? Isn't it more precious for us to say, you know what? I know this is their favorite movie. From the way that my life is, I'm not going to watch it. I think that is a more enlivening choice. That's the word that comes to my mind. Like, it's a more expanded choice than had I just been not invited at all. It's more expansive to say no than to not have the invitation. And on the other hand, we may say yes. We may say yes to your video. We may say yes to your thumbnail. We may say yes to your podcast episode, to your book, to your screenplay. Like, we may say yes, and we will be so much more alive and nourished and seen by that yes, by that ability to say yes. Because, my love, if you are committed to sharing yourself with the world, wherever you choose, eventually people will say yes. It may not be on the timeline you're expecting, but eventually, if we give, and we give something that we feel is in integrity and alignment with what we are here to offer, it will eventually meet the people who want to receive it. Okay, I claim that. Let it be so. That everything that you are called to express, let that calling be felt as a collective calling to receive that expression. Is that going to happen instantaneously? Absolutely not. Is that going to happen in the exact way that we're expecting? Also, unfortunately, absolutely not. In fact, not even unfortunately, because that path of you sharing yourself is actually not only the collective dreaming through you, but it's a more loving version of yourself dreaming through you as well. What do I mean by that? For me, in my journey of sharing myself on the internet, I could not have known just how much this would catalyze and alchemize, this would fuel my spiritual journey and growth. Before I started this journey, I was very disconnected from spirituality. I had a very narrow understanding of spirituality and I rejected it. It's through this path of sharing myself, realizing that the only way you can sustain visibility is by being so nourished beneath the surface of the earth, really tending to the roots beneath the earth, such that from those roots can stem a beautiful tree and fruits. You know, you can't start growing a tree from the fruits. You have to start rooted. And so this work has asked me to go so much deeper into that truth and into myself, and also into love, into this idea of like, oh my word, give love. Don't seek to take. Try to give love. Try to give and inject love into the collective consciousness, because that is why you're here to speak at all. Okay? So give love. Before I record a soul session, which is what I call a podcast or video episode of the Soul Salon, sometimes I will sing to myself the words that I need most in order to be able to have the courage to record and to give voice to what I'm seeking to express in that soul session. And I didn't think that I would be sharing this. I just thought it was part of my private vault of things that I create. But I decided that it kind of speaks to the point of how we only rise rooted, like by tending to these roots within us. From that, we can stem these leaves and these fruits that we're seeking to stem. And that this is the kind of love that I am pouring into myself before I'm able to pour love into you and into the you that is me, you know. And so I am going to share this with you. It feels very vulnerable when I'm singing, but it is an expression of my aliveness, and something that I seek in my creativity is to leave my aliveness with you, you know, to leave it on earth with people to feel. So here is what I sung to myself before I started this soul session. I hope that it helps you as you face your fears of being seen. Don't seek approval, don't seek applause. Just give your love and all will be yours. Don't seek approval, don't seek applause. Just give your love and all will be yours. Don't seek approval, don't seek applause. Just give your love and all will be yours. All will be yours, all will be yours. And so you are here as a vessel for something. For you, it may be love, it may be art, it may be truth, it may be beauty in its core essence, in the sense of beautiful flavors, beautiful smells, sounds, that kind of beauty that you walk into a room and you're like, oh, that kind of beauty that you look at a sunset and you're like, oh my word, is this not the point of being alive? Like, if you are here as a vessel for that, then each time you don't invite us into that which you're a vessel for, we are less off for it. Like, we are less nourished. We are starved for that choice. Like, you're not nourishing our consciousness. You're actually depriving it from the beauty, the joy that you are here to bring, the truth you're here to bring, the experience you are here to share, the stories you are here to tell. They could be deeply painful stories. They could be exciting stories, but it's the stories that the collective wants to receive through you. You know, I've been thinking about the fact that on planet Earth, there are around 7,000 languages currently. And if we think of colonialism and the effect that that has had on the death of many languages or the weakening of many languages, the decrease of them, we could think that there would have been much more. But if we think of the Earth as speaking 7,000 languages, and we think of this universe on these different scales, I think of the infinity of love. Like love is this infinite energy. And for some people, this is how they receive the idea of God, as this infinite energy of love, the creator, the cosmos, this infinity. Like infinity and the divine are very closely linked. So what if, my love, the specific way that you speak into and speak through love is its own language? And you are here to share and speak that language. And eventually others who speak the language of love that you speak, or who want to learn how to, are going to feel called to your language of love. So that there are all these different forms of communication. There's energetic communication. There's just this feeling someone gives you or someone awakens within you. And so each time you don't offer us that, we are in a sense silenced from what we are here to express in this lifetime. Oof. Because you are a portal. You are a portal. Through you, someone can experience more love, more friendship, more possibility, more beauty, more creativity, more wholeness, more the feeling of being acknowledged, of being seen, more accompanied in this lifetime. Their hand held. Like you are a portal. Through you, someone gets to feel and experience something that you give them more of. Maybe they already feel that way and they're seeking to feel it more. Maybe they've never even felt the sweetness of what you are here to give. The way that you listen could be the portal. Oh my word, haven't we each been transported by a good listener? Oh my gosh, I'm going to make a video on good listeners. Oh my word. I mean, I consider myself one, but I feel like we are literally actually just wait for that video to come. But essentially, have we not felt literally like we're in a vortex, like we're not on Earth, we're in a different dimension because of the way someone held space for us? Like, where is this that I am now? Because I'm not where I was before this conversation. I feel so seen, I feel so held, I feel so acknowledged. And if you haven't felt that way, my love, I'm manifesting it for you. It's a delicious feeling. And if you are the one who offers that feeling to others, babes, just stick around, because that's going to be a love letter to you, to us. So what is that? That person in that conversation, they're a portal. They're a portal into an experience someone didn't even know they were seeking. Because sometimes we don't even know how much we're seeking to be deeply heard. And we talk about loneliness in society, isolation, and it's so real. But part of that loneliness is being fueled by people who are taught to speak and not taught to listen. It doesn't work. We're never going to feel held by such a consciousness that only knows how to speak and not to deeply hear. Oh my word. Okay. We're not getting distracted. It's all part of it, but you are a portal. You transport us to a place of more of something that we want to feel. We may not even know consciously that we want to feel that way. Maybe the way that you sing, it creates this frequency all around our body. We get tingles. Maybe it's mournful. Maybe it's melancholic, and it allows us to connect more with the feeling of grief within each of us. Maybe you have this really uplifting energy that each time we listen to you, we feel more like, wow, okay, maybe the universe will be okay. Maybe you bring love. Maybe you bring peace. Maybe you bring perspective. Maybe you have a way of conceiving of reality that's so magnetic and potent, and you don't even realize how potent it is because, again, you feel the silencing effect of all your conditioning and all the voices within and the bullying and the trauma. So you're a portal. And we want to go where you are here to take us. And you may not even know where that is. That's why sometimes you just have to allow your art to be spoken and shared, and then surrender to not knowing what it's going to be a portal towards. And also through the act of creation itself, you get to experience the portal of creation. Like, I am transformed by this speaking, by this speech, just as much as it potentially can transform. So I, as the creator, am merging with and stepping into and through this portal. This is a system that I'm calling creative portals, that I don't like the idea that we think of art in the sense of consumption. What did you consume? Consumption implies an ending, right? If you consume something, it implies that it's a very capitalist understanding. Like it's now, there's none left. It's disposed of. It's finished. That's not what art does. Babes, that's not what an idea that blows your mind does. That's not what a song that speaks to you and tugs your heartstring does. That's not what a video that changes everything in your universe does. That's not what it does. You don't consume it, if you think about it. It's not finished. In fact, it's just getting started. If you are invited into a portal that feels heart-made for you, you don't even, you just feel like, whoa, I belong here. I didn't even know I belonged here, but I belong here, in this room, in this space. That to me is this idea of art as a creative portal, and as artists as the portals to a more loving, a more healed world. That by artist, I mean people who create things. I mean creators. I mean visionaries of all forms. That consciousness is rebellious. It says, I insist not only in believing in what is not yet here, but I actually insist on creating it. Ooh, sexy, beautiful, wonderful. And that's also why I believe creativity as a consciousness is a kind of queering. It's a queer consciousness. If creativity walked into the room, it wouldn't be straight. It wouldn't be straight. But essentially, creativity as a consciousness, it's always insisting on otherwise. Oh my gosh. Oh my word. Okay, so it's always insisting on otherwise, and you are part of that insistence. So each time you silence that insistence and don't share it. I speak to so many incredible people on earth, and they have an idea and they insist on repressing that idea. It's a self-policing, right? It's the whole surveillance, police and colonial state is let them internalize this policing so deeply within that they do our work for us, essentially. They are so repressive towards themselves that they are externally oppressed by these systems and also internally oppressed by the way that they've internalized these systems. So I speak to all these incredible creators. It could be they want to host an event. It could be they want to write poetry and share it with the world. It could be they have a book idea and they really want to share it, but they're afraid of what the book is asking them to tap into. And I feel the power of how beautiful it would be for people to be invited into the worlds that they're trying to create. And if as creators of those things, we refuse to create, we're aligning ourselves with the status quo consciousness. When as creators, and I call this creative consciousness, we always need to align ourselves with this rebellious voice within us, with this what if voice, this childish voice, this whatever voice you want to call it, this hopeful voice, this voice of possibility. And that is why within the broader system, a lot of people will not understand the artist, the creator, the maker, because they insist on what is not yet. And every creator you admire had a whole group of people around them who said, that's not going to work. That will never work. That's not possible. And so we must insist on staying faithful to this creative consciousness within us. And it's going to ask everything of you. It's going to ask everything of you. If you have an idea and you are committed to not just thinking about the idea, but actually bringing it to life, it's going to ask a lot of you. But we are all here. We're here with you. You've been asked because you have the answers. You've been called because you're the perfect one to pick up. Okay, who's calling? You've been called because this is your calling. This is our calling of you. And it's heart made for you, handmade for you. It's like your calling in the sense that we're calling you in a very particular, specific way. And we hope that you'll pick up. And just think of it as an invitation. So babes, what are you going to invite us into? What is the art you may invite us into? What is the idea you're going to invite us into? What is the event you're going to invite us to? And allow us from the fullness of our being to say yes. And also allow us to say no, because even if it's a no, number one, it could be a not yet. So many times I've said, I don't want to watch that yet. Okay, I've thought it's a no. And then like a year or 2 months later, I'm like, you know what? I'm ready. Or you see something and it kind of triggers you. But then like a week later, you're like, okay, fine, I'm ready. You know what I mean? Sometimes just being invited is this portal that has already shifted people's perspective on what's possible. So sometimes we need time for the invitation to match the saying of the yes. Like you might hear of an artist and be like, oh yeah, I'll check her out. And then a year later, you're like, oh, let me check out that artist my friend told me about. And then suddenly it's like the teacher and the student. It's like the perfect time to receive that message. So trust in your invitations and trust that everything you create, not to mix metaphors, but why not? Because I love mixing. Everything you create is like a breadcrumb. And you don't know which of the crumbs is going to allow your ideal being, your ideal soul to find your work. So do you think if you want your art to be found in the world by the people who it's meant for, one breadcrumb is going to do it? Is 2 going to do it? Is 3 going to? No. We got to leave some breadcrumbs. You know, you never know which piece of your work is going to invite someone through the portal of your consciousness into how it is over there. So that's why I believe, and I have a video on, either it's out or it's coming out, on the mosaic mindset, on having this perspective of creation that reduces the pressure on each work so that we can invite more and more people into our worlds. You are an invitation. You know, we think of manifesting, we think of creating, but remember that you are a manifestation. You are a creation. And so as you are, you hold all the potency of those things. And so whatever you feel called to invite us into, trust that life has already chosen you. I've been saying that so often recently because I'm like, whoa, life chose you. You know, life chose you. You had such a rare chance of being here. Here you are watching this video. Life has chosen you. There are trillions of cells conspiring to keep you alive in this moment. It's actually so profound. And yet, of course, when you're surrounded by life, it can feel less magnificent, less magical, but it equally is. We need to keep reminding ourselves and asking ourselves, how can I be more in awe of everything in my experience, which includes me necessarily? Includes being in awe of your thoughts, your ideas. You know what I wrote down the other day? I said, and I didn't mean this like in a disrespectful way. It was a way of trying to unblock myself because I felt like I haven't been creating as much as I want to. And I wrote down, my smallest idea is someone's greatest breakthrough. And I love that because it's relative. To you, it's an idea you've already had. So it feels small. It feels like, does anyone really care about that? And I love smallness. Smallness is part of the universe. We need smallness. But then when you encounter an idea that's new, it feels like the biggest thing in the world. It feels like, oh my word, I'll never be the same. I'll never see the world the same because now I have this idea. And then that person incorporates it into their heart and consciousness, and then it becomes, relatively to other ideas, small again. So your smallest idea, that idea you just had on a Tuesday, maybe you were sitting on the toilet, you were like, whoa, if you just shared that idea with others, it's someone's biggest breakthrough. As in, their heart, their mindset, their behavior will feel called to, spoken to, received by that small moment on that Tuesday. Because we underestimate our magic. We even underestimate or overestimate what magic has to look like. Magic can be the tiniest realization while you were making coffee last Thursday. Just being like, you know what? Wouldn't it be cool if, why don't we? Indeed, why don't we? So invite us, babes. We want to be invited. And trust that people saying no to your creativity or to your creations doesn't make them less magnificent because life has already chosen you. That force that is stretching towards more of life, in the tree that is bending towards the sun, in the flower seeking companionship amongst the other flowers, that's being pollinated by the bees, this life thing that's happening, this breath that is happening, it's already happened to you. So everything you create is simply an extension of that magnificence, of that life force, of that aliveness. And that's why I believe like creativity is one of the most enlivening things. Relationship, number one. And relationship is creative. Creativity is relationship. I mean, are people writing these? I'm kidding. And so that relationship has chosen to express itself through you. Through you. It's no mistake. Does life make mistakes? You know, that's a story for another day. But there's no mistake. It's you. So these ideas that just come to you from who knows where, that's magnificent. That's poetic. That's divine. You get to make that. Some version of it. Not the perfect version. Not the version we tell ourselves if we only No, just a version. Could be a song you never shared with anyone, but you allowed yourself to be seen in the singing. Seen by the cosmos is also watching. The earth, God, whatever you believe in, you're being witnessed. And we want to witness you. So invite us to witness your unfolding. Don't wait. Don't say I'll be ready then when I have this thing. No, you are ready. You're ready. You are readiness itself. You are ready. You are in your essence. You are readiness for whatever you seek. Whatever you seek. Whatever you seek. Okay. I love you so much. Please invite us. We want to be invited. You're so magical. I'm in awe of you. You're incredible. Please be in awe of yourself, because it's only through that awe that you're going to believe in your creations enough to, first of all, make them, and second of all, share them and invite us to come along. I love you so much, my darling. I'm sending you so much love. You are the universe expanding, experiencing, living, breathing, and we get to live and breathe and see through you. We want to step through your creative portal, through your creations as a portal to some place more sacred, more divine, more loving, more whole, more wonderful, more interesting, because you're interesting. You have interesting things to say. More healing, more receptive, more understanding. So please invite us. We love you, okay? I love you so much. Thank you for stepping into the portal of the Soul Salon, a soulful place, a feeling place, a healing place for the dreamers, for the feelers, for the healers. I am so grateful because a new earth, a new consciousness is awakening, and you are so much part of that awakening, my love. Please sign up for my newsletter to stay in touch with me, to keep receiving these gems. Go to ayandastood.com. I love you so much, and I'll see you there, my love, and I will see you on the next soul session. I love you. Bye.